Leftover women need to wake up as soon as possible. Even if they don't have high self-esteem, they need to accept that many ordinary men are also not interested.
Why do people say that men are unwilling to look for leftover women over the age of 30? Well, I know a high-quality single man who is 35 years old, and he is determined not to look for women over 30. He told me that through a lot of real-life interactions and online research. He found that many of these older leftover women have 5 issues, and most people simply can't handle them. The first point is that these older leftover women tend to think in a rather extreme way. They attribute the problems that arise in marriage or relationships to a low-quality marriage, instead of actively trying to solve them. Second, they lack self-awareness. They say, it's better to have nobody than to have someone unsuitable. But they no longer have the youth of a 20-year-old. Yet they have higher demands than women in their 20s. Third, they are too picky. They need men to support them materially, spiritually, and emotionally. To be honest, men look for a wife to share life with, not to find someone to spend time and energy pampering. Fourth, most of them have rich relationship experiences, and they are always comparing their current partner to their exes. This constant comparison makes life difficult. Fifth, their reproductive value is continuously declining. The risk of having children increases. Do you agree?
You're not a beautiful woman. You can't compare yourself to someone like Yi. Do you understand what I mean? Yi can be demanding because she's beautiful, but you, with a simple attitude, should look for someone who has been through a lot, who has been divorced, someone who won't hurt you. It's fine. But you still hold onto a youthful mentality, expecting to find an unmarried man, and a handsome one at that. Seriously, this is very difficult.
This might sound harsh to an older woman, but perhaps only a true friend would dare to say such things. The person in question is Zhang Jing. She's a middle-aged woman with an unremarkable appearance, but you would never guess that she is a powerful woman, a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company. She earns millions a year, has a car and a house in Shenzhen, and recently bought a large mansion outright. Because she's busy with work and doesn't have time to manage the renovation, she brought her father from her hometown in Hunan to take care of it. Despite her large house and successful career, her father's not happy because, compared to external material conditions, he prefers that his daughter find someone to settle down with. He wants her to get married as soon as possible, even if she's busy and money is flying out. One night, Zhang Jing and her father were reunited at her brother's home. After a few rounds of drinks, her brother began to give Zhang Jing advice, urging her to find someone and get married, not to be too picky about the partner's abilities or looks, since she is no longer young. But Zhang Jing, as the person involved, does not agree. She believes that with her outstanding abilities and good financial situation, if she cannot find someone she really likes, the marriage will be meaningless. The family realized that they couldn't persuade her, and the family dinner ended on a sour note. In fact, Zhang Jing once had a wonderful romance. When she was just over 30, she was a branch manager at a bank and had saved up a large sum of money. However, during her career rise, she met a man who made her feel passionate. He was cultured and elegant, but lacked fortune. Zhang Jing willingly gave up her career and invested millions to open a tea house in Beijing with him. She also brought her parents from the south to be near her, taking good care of them and dedicating everything to maintaining the relationship. However, the more you care, the easier it is to lose. The business failed, and the boyfriend left her, quickly falling in love with another woman. She returned to Shenzhen to continue working, focusing all her energy on her career, and made sure her family was well taken care of. Today, with her support, her siblings have settled down, but she is still single. At every family gathering, her marital status is an unavoidable topic, and her father constantly expresses his concern and frustration. She is a strong woman, but has her preferences. However, when it comes to a husband, she cannot be excessively demanding, as men also have their own pride. Despite everyone's advice, Zhang Jing doesn't listen. She always wants to find a man who makes her feel passionate, preferring those with refined charm and outstanding looks. But she herself is plain and over 40, not being the target of young and handsome men. Even if she's willing to spend money to keep a relationship, it only keeps the person close, but not their heart. Relationship issues have no standard answers, and how to resolve them should follow one's own heart. I can only wish that everyone who desires love eventually finds a happy ending.
Why do many men nowadays not fancy older, leftover women? Generally, older, leftover women who are desperate to marry have some untold secrets. They have been through a lot, are complicated, and have many layers. If you're not careful, you might end up suffering a sudden downfall. Brothers, I'll give you a piece of advice. When evaluating a woman, look at her past. And when evaluating a man, look at his future. Nowadays, public opinion elevates women to the highest level. If I were to say these things out loud, I would surely be criticized harshly. Men, on the surface, must learn to speak well of women, without offending anyone. After all, if you offend one woman, you have basically offended all the women within her circle. So, you should try to go along with what women want, praise them to the skies, and you'll become a well-regarded man. Because when women talk about you, you'll be seen as a good man. This way, more women will consider you a potential partner, and your options will increase. The demands I have for women cannot be spoken out loud, because if they are, you'll be labeled a chauvinist, and it will be hard to maintain a good reputation among women. So, when interacting with women, you must flatter them as much as possible, but when it comes to the key moment of deciding whether to marry, never lower your standards. The best strategy is to find reasons that do not harm your reputation, but also allow you to reject the other person. When rejecting, you must continue to praise, keeping them up in the clouds, without letting them fall to the ground. After all, if you break their dreams, they will talk badly about you behind your back, dragging you down, causing you a lot of trouble. Never try to reason with a woman, because women live in a world of fantasy, and they really do not want to accept reason, much less face reality. Talking won't help, and will only make you disliked. The best way is to praise them mindlessly, putting them on a pedestal. With time, they will eventually fall down from there. Therefore, men should focus all their time on making money. If you were as rich as I am, you'd realize you're no longer interested in women over 30. Because what you want, they no longer have, and what they have, you have long had. Don't rush, because they are more desperate than you.
Why are men no longer interested in pursuing women over 30? Even when someone introduces them, they don't want to meet them. Just yesterday, I introduced some women to a 35-year-old guy, all of whom were relatively compatible in various aspects. But the guy immediately said, "Don't introduce me to women over 30 anymore, I'm not worthy." We were all very surprised by this response. Really surprised because in all aspects, he has relatively good conditions. Why does he say he's not worthy? The guy gave a wry smile and said, "I work hard, earn money, improve myself. All to find a wife who is, at the very least, normal." We were even more puzzled. Then he continued, "In fact, it's quite simple. Think about it. We're in an era where there are more men than women. If they have reached this age and are still single, it basically comes down to a few situations. First, they are definitely difficult to deal with. A woman who reaches 30 must have had at least a dozen men pursuing her before, and still hasn't ended up with any of them. So the level of difficulty is obvious. Second, they don't have the life of a princess, but they have the attitude of one. In other words, they don't worry or rush about marriage. They basically want to find a sort of free nanny. Third, they often say, "I'm slow to warm up. I'd rather stay single than be in a bad relationship." If you like me, you have to show it with real actions. Actually, they're telling you that you need to put in effort, but whether there will be a return depends on their mood. And even if there is no return, you still need to be sincere and dedicated. Fourth, they have high ambitions but limited skills. A combination of materialism and toxic ideas. Fifth, they are selfish. When you talk to them, you realize that their thinking is entirely self-centered, without any consideration for others. What do you all think? Is this guy right? Why don't men like to choose older women, even those with good conditions, to marry? A few days ago, I acted as a sort of matchmaker, and honestly, it was a bit awkward. Let me tell you, this woman is the cousin of a good friend of mine. She's 34 years old, single, has a postgraduate degree, is 1.63 meters tall, and earns about $200,000 a year. Her appearance is decent, and her overall conditions are quite good. She also has local residency, a house, and a car. I wanted to introduce her to a former colleague of mine. This colleague of mine is 3 years younger than her, 1.78 meters tall, has a bachelor's degree, and currently earns around $150,000 a year. I think he has a pleasant appearance. So I asked him about this woman. I said, "She is 3 years older than you, but I think you two are quite compatible. She earns more than you, is local, has a house and a car, and her conditions are good." Do you know what my colleague replied? I'll tell you. He said, "First, thank you for your good intentions. Actually, what I think represents the opinion of most men. This woman may have a house and a car, and in many aspects she may have good conditions, but for me it doesn't weigh anything. No matter how much she earns when we go out to eat or shop, isn't it still me who would pay? It doesn't make any difference to us men. But because she has a high income, good education, a house, and a car, she uses these things as her basis for choosing a man. He continued, "To be honest, it's not that I can't handle this type of woman. Even if I could, I wouldn't even want to try. Because they are usually very picky. This isn't good enough, that isn't good enough. Being with them is very exhausting. For me, it's better to find someone more ordinary, a bit younger, who can live a more stable life. The happiness with this kind of woman is much higher." After hearing this, I was speechless for a moment and didn't know what else to say. Friends, do you think my colleague's opinion is right?
Hello everyone, I am Bao Yi. A few days ago, my childhood friend went on 2 arranged dates. After meeting, the demands of the 2 women kept increasing, which almost made my friend give up on arranged dating. In the first date, he mentioned, "My friend is too dark, his dress isn't good, he's not presentable." And about his income, he works in construction, earns about 200,000 a year. He is a qualified worker, and still they said his conditions weren't good enough. They said if he doesn't lower his standards, he'll never find a wife. My friend was very upset. Afterward, he wasn't planning to go on more dates, but his cousin introduced him to another candidate, a woman who is 35 years old. Actually, she is 1 year older than the last candidate, who was 33 or 34 years old. My friend is 33 years old. On the first date, the woman asked for a 12,000 gold bracelet. After dinner, she took him to a jewelry store to see the bracelet, and that scared my friend. He was thinking about not continuing, but the woman said if he couldn't meet these demands, there was no reason to continue the date. So the date ended without success. My friend was determined to stop dating, but his parents insisted. Then, his cousin introduced him to another candidate, a woman of the same age, 33 years old. Unfortunately, 33 years old is already considered a high age for single women, and the woman probably has high demands, or was left behind by others. Today, my friend talked to me, saying he will meet the candidate tomorrow. He is worried about encountering another bizarre situation and doesn't know how to handle it. So we talked about the situation of single women here in Zhejiang, specifically in Ningbo, and about how much is needed to marry one of these women, in terms of dowry and salary. My friend said something very classic. If I could meet all the demands of these women, I wouldn't be looking for them. I would find someone better. He said if you want to marry one of these women in Zhejiang, you need to have an annual income of at least 300,000. If you don't have that, you won't be able to marry them. Even a construction worker with a 20,000 salary is not enough to meet the demands of these women. For example, the second woman he met asked for a 12,000 gold bracelet right at the first date. That's something an ordinary man cannot afford. So, if you're not a small business owner, marrying one of these women in Zhejiang is very difficult. Nowadays, women really see men as ATMs. I'm curious to see the outcome of my friend's date tomorrow, and at least I can use it as material for a video.
One man, who I spoke with more extensively, said that after a lot of practical experience, he found that many older women have the following 5 major problems, which are hard to handle. First, most older women tend to think in extreme terms, whether it's about relationships or marriage. Any small problem is attributed to an issue of intelligence, and they simply don't actively seek solutions to resolve these problems. Second, they are completely self-unaware, always talking about better than nothing, yet they demand the best in material terms, despite having missed the best years. Third, they are very demanding and sensitive. Whether it's material goods, emotional support, or attention, they expect to receive everything. What this man said was, "I need to spend time, energy, and money. So why wouldn't I look for someone younger?" Fourth, many of these women have quite complex emotional histories and tend to compare everything. How can you maintain a healthy relationship under these conditions? Fifth, their reproductive value is constantly declining, and the risks associated with pregnancy are increasing. While I can't say I fully agree with this view, It does seem to have some basis. What do you think? Do these problems really exist? Do you know if nowadays, men are avoiding dating women over 30? I've been living in Chengdu for a while, and I've seen many real cases about this. Previously, there was a 33-year-old man who was adamant about not dating women over 30. He said, after a lot of practical experience and online research, he found that older women generally have these 5 problems. First, most older women lack self-awareness and talk about not settling for less. But in reality, they are looking for someone far superior to them. Second, older women tend to think in extremes. They attribute problems in relationships or marriages to low-quality relationships, rather than solving the issues. Being with someone like this is very exhausting. Third, many older women are quite demanding. They expect men to help them materially, financially, and emotionally. To be honest, men look for a wife to have a practical life with, not to have someone who acts like a queen at home. Fourth, especially for women with a lot of relationship experience, they often compare their current partner with their exes. Constant comparison makes life difficult. Finally, the reproductive value of women is continuously decreasing and the risks of having children are increasing. Do you agree with what this man said?
What do you think about the points raised in the video regarding the challenges faced by women over 30 in the dating world? Do these observations reflect reality? It's a topic that definitely sparks a lot of debate and differing opinions. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with what was discussed? Do you have different experiences or perspectives to share? Drop your comments below and let's talk about it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content. See you next time.